Hello, welcome to Single Mothers Unite, aka SMU, where single mothers from Central Virginia come to find encouragement, empowerment, and support online. All right, well, welcome to SMU Single Mothers Unite. This is an interview that I'm doing a little bit different than I normally do because you can actually see me this time. Normally, it's just focused on our subject. But this is a very important interview to me, very special because I have a very near and dear friend from long ago. We go way back. It's almost been like, 20 some years?
They got a picture. I have a old picture.
Yeah. We became friends in high school, and I've watched her journey throughout the years as well as she's watched mine. And she is a single mother of two girls, and I am extremely inspired by her story and by her perseverance and by her ability to overcome. So I introduce to you, with no further avail, Kisha, what last name do you go by?
It's Pollard. No,
Pollard
KP is a brand. So when that was
KP.
requested back at the divorce, no, KP is a brand. She's an author. Let me get my book.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
She's an author.
So Kisha Miller Pollard, then aka KP.
Yes.
Yeah.
For those who know me, right? So but it's the whole thing.
Yes. So thank you so much for being willing to do this interview and to be willing to share your story. I know that this story is definitely going to have a huge impact on single mothers who were once where you were or still are where you are and are able to see how you were able to overcome all the obstacles that were stacked against you. So I want to get started and just talk about what that looked like for you. So Kisha, I know these things about you because I was there to witness it. But tell me about your girls.
Yeah. So and I'm reminded that I have adults now, but they are my A1s and day ones, right? So they were there. So my oldest, Kiara, she's 25, she'll be 26. And we think about, oh man, you need a job with benefits. Like that's what you think about when you have adult children. And how you gonna live with that? And then Shakoya, who she's 20, she is a junior at UTSA studying sociology and plans to continue on to be a licensed professional counselor. And they too, I think about Kiara had me at a different point, right? So freshman in high school, graduated, she was at our games, she was a little mascot. And then Shakoya never knew living with Nana. So they have seen me in different spaces, kind of broke, we would split a personal pan, Kiara and I would, and that would be dinner, right? And so Koya knows, like, we can, all three of us can get a personal pan, right? Mom's working, or she would bring home food from KFC. So they know me in different spaces, but love me nonetheless. And I think and I'm sure we'll unpack mommy guilt, but that's part of that. They know me differently and more intimately. So when I think about introducing someone else to this mix, they got to be special because they have rode with me. We're in Texas, all of our family, but one aunt is here. And so they put a lot of trust. And I covet their opinions and their thoughts of me. And we're trying to figure out how do 3 adult women live in the same house?
Wow. We've come a long way. That's 20 some years, if not more. I want to paint a picture for people who might be watching. So how old were you when you had Kiara?
I was 14, so pregnant at 13, and she was born October 3rd, 1996. So I was a freshman walking down the halls and under the trellises of Liberty High School with the baby. And but we grew up in a teen pregnancy capital. I mean, legit. Yes. I think it was statistically a thing that was what that was. And but I never thought I was destined to stay, or I felt pigeonholed to be one thing or another. Even at 14, when I think about who they were at 14, yikes, I don't know what the favor or the calling on that life was for me, but my best friend at the time, her mom worked at the school. Can I get a ride? Drop my kid off? You going that way? Yes, I was 14, and she was from 14 and beyond. She's been my road dog, and I was never ashamed. Even when I tell the people I work with, like, no, I was pregnant at 13. It's not a thing that I hide or that I'm proud is not the right word, but I'm just not ashamed to say that, because people do the math. I'm 40, she's 25. I was 14. Let me help you. Let me just go ahead and stop calculating in your head. I was 14.
Yes.
And she calls me mom, because that's the other thing. Like, she called me Kisha and called my mom. Like, no, I have been her mother figure. Now, Nana is a OG, but it ain't no Kisha here. It's
yes. Absolutely. And I witnessed it. So tell me about what it was like. I know that you said that you don't have any shame, but what was that like? Like, what was it like finding out at 13 that you were pregnant and then having a baby, becoming a whole mother at 14? Like, what feelings specifically came with that? Like, and I know you had to have some criticism. You had to, because, we lived in Bedford, Virginia.
I think the criticism was behind my back, I'm sure.
Probably
You're
so.
right. A feeling that lives with me today is the level of disappointment that I know that my mom had. I was supposed to go to the dentist, and she was like, nah, that ain't happening. Supposed to get my hair done. Nah, that ain't happening. My dad showed up in a way for me that allows me to love him today, even the more, considering who he is or was to me. Nothing bad, but just whatever. That's a whole nother, sign me up for part 2, right? Daddy daughter issues. He was amazing, and mom came around, but she was a single mom. Myself and my sister that's 18 months apart, so we're at home, and now she's trying to think about another mouth. She's working at Walmart, and I really lived my entire life to make her proud. I was recently asked to go do some amazing work in Columbus, Ohio, and my boss said, "Did you tell your mom?" I don't have to tell her, because she's proud if I do nothing else, but that's a feeling of, I wasn't scared. I wasn't, even getting induced. I went to school that day and then went to the hospital, got induced, came home and ate some Long John Silvers, and then went back to the hospital. And there was this level of assurance and peace that I long for now when I need to know that I am walking in God's will. It's unshakable. I never thought it wasn't going to be okay, even considering, I don't know where we got a crib from. Actually, now that I think about it, I should have a whole crib in my room. But overwhelmingly, the feeling was, I know that I disappointed my mom. I don't know that I didn't care about my dad, but I wanted to be proud, all of us. So my sister Annette, my sister Jackie, all of us. My mom had my sister Annette, and so this lineage of teen pregnancy. I won't call it a curse, because that means that's a bad thing. That's just, we were walking out whatever that was. And I'm so excited that my girls have chosen a different path and journey for their life. Yeah. But when I think of an emotion I felt sad that I disappointed her. But I'm grateful that we didn't quickly move beyond it, but I knew that she always loved me too. Because she didn't turn her back. Although she did say, I don't know how you're going to graduate. I don't know how you're going to finish high school. Just wait. My ride's up. The Broncos pulling up. I got to go low.
That makes me that makes me very emotional when I hear you talk about the regrets. Not necessarily the regret, but the regret that you disappointed your mom. I can empathize, with that, being a young mom myself at the age of 18. But yeah, so I get it. But again, I watched you closely I was hanging with Kisha when she had Kiara, and that's where I got the nickname Monkey, because she couldn't say my name. She couldn't say Megan, so she called me Monkey.
Car seat in the back of the Escort Z.
Yes, the red Escort, and we were everywhere, with her. And not only, I want to highlight the fact that not only did you finish school, but you did it with great grades. I think you were what? You were like an honor roll student for sure.
Oh yes,
always.
Absolutely.
Yes. And you cheered. You cheered from as long as I know you. And that's how we became friends, is through cheering. Like I said, I've watched you from that, age, and you worked too, on top of making good grades, cheering, being a mother, and a hands-on mother. Not the type of mother that your mother took care of your daughter. Not that she didn't help, and not that she didn't support you, but you were the mother that was very hands-on. And so I applaud you. And that's why I wanted to do this interview with you, because, I just wanted people to be able to, I wanted to share your story, but I wanted them to be able to see that single motherhood or becoming a teen mom, it's not the worst thing in the world. But I don't know if you've noticed, statistically, and and that's my bad, because I don't have the statistics specifically, but I do know that teen pregnancy, and especially in Bedford, Virginia, has gone way down. Have you noticed that?
I feel like I have, yeah.
Yes.
I do feel like that's a awareness that I have for whatever reason.
It has. I think we've evolved as a people. And I did an interview with the Bedford Pregnancy Center. Do you remember them? Yeah. I did one at the beginning of grad school. And I talked to the lady there, and that organization was birthed out of, like we were talking about before, that Bedford was the capital of
pandemic, before the pandemic.
Of teen pregnancy. And it really was. It really truly was. I was a product of it. Well, not necessarily a product, but I was, a statistic of it, I guess is what I should say. I was a statistic of it. My cousins were. There were so many people. Yeah, there were so many people who were from our generation and from our age. But I feel like this generation is a little bit different. And I'm not exactly 100% sure why, but I want to say it has a lot to do probably with sex education, and with it not being so taboo as it was to talk about back then than now. I feel like this generation, at least I can only speak for myself, we are far more open about, talking about sex to our kids than then.
I would agree. I never had my conversation with my mom was, don't have a baby, I'm gonna kick you out. And I knew
exactly that was the same thing.
That was, and I was like 11, right? So even feminine hygiene, like all that was like, well,
taboo.
How things work, where they go by way of your older friends telling you, and you're right, it was the conversation. I didn't want them to be afraid of it, because I think fear, when you use fear as a measure to deter behavior, that doesn't work. But words also don't teach. I just want them to have thought-provoking things, when it came to that part of their life. It's important. It's everywhere.
Extremely.
And pressure is real. So I'm like, no, if you can't examine and look for bumps and warts and things, and you shouldn't be around it. But my mom didn't have that conversation, but I need them to know, and that the baby would be the blessing. AIDS, herpes, there's worser things to me than a baby. So a baby could only, or you could have both, right? Even a double whammy. But you're right. I think being able to have an open and honest conversation, one that, we kind of chuckle, but no, at the end of the day, I need you to know it's a huge decision. And, I've been married and I'm divorced, and I may never see my ex-husband again. If we had a child together, that thing is forever, so you can say that you're with somebody and the baby's forever. Go get married, go to Vegas, go try that out for a minute, and then see what happens. A baby, that decision is forever, ever, 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 ever. And we are ever, evering. Ever. So
yes,
all together. Yes. There's other ways to show commitment. Don't allow that to be a tattoo, even, like, if we want to rationalize the worst things you could do, the bringing a child into the world, Because I'll say my heart breaks, and I think I shared that with you a little bit earlier. It breaks when I hear of it, not out of judgment, but I wasn't prepared. Kiara had learning challenges, and although she loved school, it was hard. She we held her back in the first grade, and then every year it was hard, and I wasn't ready. We think every child's gonna come out pristine and ready to go. 1 + 1 is 2, and 2 times 2 is like and so she's in the high school and middle school, and I'm trying to work and support a family of 4. And I'm like, I don't know how they taught you this, man. And teacher, is there a website? Can you send me the answers? So that's the part of what I hear about it, is the level of maturity that I know some young moms may not have, or they might even not have the support to help them through it. But that's where my heart breaks, is because when it doesn't go right every time, when there's a left and a double back, or if there are, my younger sister was born with Down syndrome, Lord forbid, you have a special needs child. Are you ready? You have to think about when you're carrying that baby, and we say, I want a healthy baby. But if it comes out and there are special needs, are you ready? Kiara, I never knew that there might be some developmental challenges there. And I speak openly because she has graduated high school, and she's a contributing member of society, right? And I think that's dope, but I never thought. And so then, okay, I was 14. Maybe there were some things there that contributed to that. We move on from that guilt. But when I think of that, I'm like, man, when it doesn't go right, that's a lot for someone who is just trying to figure out life, to then have to do that with a child and go to school. Like, the school system will, they had my baby, and they had called her developmentally delayed special education. And we're like, what? Mm-hmm. This child can work a computer, she can play every game, she can read. Special ed.
Yep.
I call my mom, and so then I too need my mom. Like, Mom, let me tell you what they said. Kiara, can you come to this meeting? Because they think I'm a joke. I'm a 20, so we're 14, 19 years old. She's in kindergarten. We're going to hold her back, or we won't let her in kindergarten because she didn't know her wrist. What? Her wrist?
That is insane.
So it's even the discrimination and the bias that you have to encounter, and you have to be about your BI. I still have her file today. It's right here. And I'm in a whole other state. All of her IEPs, all the stuff that they write up about your child, so clinical. And you think, but that's just my baby. So that's the part when I think about, my heart breaks when I hear of another young mother joining this amazing awesomeness, responsibility that we have. It's when it doesn't go right, when they do need special care, special needs.
So life. When I listen to you talk, I just hear so many seasons of life. You have grown up, and I can empathize with that. I get it. Like, you've grown up with your kids, I mean, you have grown up, you've been a mom since you were 14 years old. And do you know that's like, at that age, even when you're in your 20s, you have no idea of who you are. I feel like you really just start getting to know yourself in your 30s. There's like something that just clicks. And so it's like, excuse me, you're raising, these people throughout that process. And like you said before, they're getting different versions of you because we're people, we're human, we're supposed to evolve, I know my oldest say that even with my youngest, my youngest gets a different version of me than my oldest. And they're like, you would have did this, that, and the other if he would have did this, but it's just with more life experience, you become a different person. Your perception of life changes. And so therefore how you respond to life also changes. And so it's inevitable. Well, you think, because some people, I guess, don't get on that wheel of evolution. At least that's what it seems like sometimes. Huh? But you're supposed to evolve and you're supposed to change. So talk to me about some of the struggles that you experienced raising the girls, as a single mom. What specific struggles that seem like were never ending? Aside from the things that you talked about with Kiara, those were, I'm sure that's just icing, on the cake, but like, how was it financially? How was it like, like working or figuring out schedules? I know you had a good support system too. I'm sure that makes a difference. So talk to me about those things.
Financial is real. I remember, so because I had a child, my mom was like, you have to have a job or you can pick her up and take her to daycare. My mom managed at Walmart, so she didn't have flexibility like I have now. Like I can leave some days. I took Corey to work at 5:30 a.m. They don't drive. Picked her up at 10, and then I have to take care of her at 3. Like, so that flexibility that I am grateful and blessed to have, she didn't. So I felt indebted to anyone that would hire me, and the schedule worked. So I recall being a janitor at the very school that we went to, Beverly Elementary School. I was, hey, Miss Belcher, Keisha, hey, Keisha, see me back in the halls, not possibly in the way that they want, but that was a job. But it was 6 to 2. Daycare opened. I could drop her off at 5:30, get off in time to pick her up, and that was limiting and capping. I couldn't drive far. Her daycare was in Bedford. Couldn't work in Lynchburg, and if so, how do I get back and forth? And then Corey was born, so my mom of 2 had an apartment, 385, working at KFC or food service. I don't know if I can say that.
I remember
food service, and then was getting almost $400 in food stamps. Which that whole process is like, there's a movie, I can't think of the name of it, and it is the most belittling on that movie. You gotta have you gotta have an apartment to get daycare. You gotta have a job. It's like, yeah, it's a vicious cycle.
It really is. It really is.
It's intended to keep you oppressed. Let me say that again, right? So
yes,
making $4 an hour, have 2 kids, an apartment, $400 in food stamps. I make $2 more, so I go to $6, like $6.25, nothing. So it was easier for me to just, because $385 times 12, that's over $3,000, right? So $2 an hour don't equal that. So and it was that. So that was eye-opening to me. And so then when someone shared like, hey, Nationwide's hiring, I think my starting salary was like 27. And I was like, dope. Wow. Like I was like, but then you got to do daycare and I was working mid shift, 11 to 7. Luckily, again, I had family that would help before and after school or pay daycare. And then I'm driving to Lynchburg. But it was always tight. I remember when I got married, we would get groceries out of my in-laws' house, right? Because it was just enough to make ends meet. It's the buy here, pay here place to get a car. Credit was a little shaky right after I bought a house, and now maxing out credit cards to get gas, to buy clothes, and to make sure that they have what they need for school. You feel grateful for these programs like free lunch, and it's like, yeah, that's dope. But it'll be great if I could, have something else more tangible. Because once you make, $6, you don't get food stamps. I think from that point on, from $6 on, Medicaid only or FAMIS. Yes. Remember the inch, like $6. Then it's like, well, let me put down kids' dads' names, and then I never got AC, DC, or TANF. Like I never got any of those things. But I could see why that's appealing, and it's just so berating, embarrassing, to have to, to work full time and still not be able to make ends meet. But I will say, started Nationwide, enjoyed it. Started in 2001, and it wasn't a quick advancement by any means, but it was steady. Got into leadership, but even then, you think you're making less than 50, and you're like, man, this is dope. Family of 4 at this point, married. The engine blew in the car, so let me borrow my dad's station wagon. You're still kind of struggling.
Yes.
Now you make this much. Oh, the kids can get government insurance. Like, well, okay, well that's substantial amount of money. So the financial struggle was always there, always looming, always trying to make ends meet or moving money or going exempt on a paycheck to get your whole paycheck, so you don't have to pay taxes. And you know what I wish I would have done, and I hope that anyone watching, first of all, financial literacy should be a part of all of these programs. I probably know that I got, let me see, $15,000 in income tax returns. That's probably too little. So you get like $5,000 and $6,000, and it's like, I don't got nothing to show for that money. not an
Yes.
investment, not a car.
But you couldn't at that time because you needed every penny of it to either make up for bills that were not getting paid.
Pay my credit card bill off. That was true. I would use that to pay off credit card bills I had accrued, not for Christmas, but just all throughout. Tire, alternator. But
yeah, and when you're and when you're in that type of, it seems like never-ending struggle. When you're in it, it seems like a never-ending struggle. When you're in that type of never-ending struggle, it seems like an eternity. Being broke is not fun. There's nothing fun about being broke. And, when you get that little bit of tax money, I know why people go and blow it, because they don't have anything. You struggle 11 years out of the month, and then 1 month, all of a sudden your bank account is in the thousands. It's like, woo.
Joke is real. I pay now, so that's the other inverse of this joke. It's like, taxes. I'm paying tuition. What do you mean?
Yes. So that leads me to my next question. How has Kisha evolved over the years? Who is Kisha now? What's that climb? What's that advancement look like?
Evolution is when I think about how I became to be a teen mom, I offered myself for love, and that's not a dig at the persons who took that. But that's what it was. And I had to sit down, and even when I think about divorce and not a reflection of my children, I love them, no regrets, but that's what that was. I wouldn't say, hey, you want to go on a date? It was like, hey, I'll come through, like that's what that was. And so at some point, very later though, even post marriage, it was like, hold on, you deserve better. And full awareness of who I am and what I deserve and what I want. Understanding what I want is probably the last 3-4 years, like being really crystal clear of what I want and what that looks like, what I deserve. Being able to be my authentic self. Coming into being asked out of 28,000 associates to fly to Nationwide and talk about cultural work and go with my braids and my Chanel earrings, that authenticity. And I can talk about my adult children, and I'm 40, and how I started answering phones frontline. But I used to always make myself small because I felt unworthy of, because even it's taboo to have had a baby at 14, although I was never ashamed. But now I can stand flat-footed and say, that's not what I want to do. And that's okay. I'm not going to do X. And I really try to help others to understand, what do you want to do? When I talk to Kiara and Koya, what do you want to do? There is really no wrong answer. There are consequences. What is it that you want to do? And me being able to realize that I have complete control of what I want to do. So do I want to do X or not? And what makes me feel good about doing X or not? And that has been a long awaited journey.
You found yourself through this journey, and you're fortunate because a lot of people don't look for themselves in this journey. And I understand why, because they get lost in the struggle. They get lost in the addictions. They get lost in sometimes even the people we're surrounded by, family, friends, significant others. They get lost in those things, but you found you, and that is the most important thing. But so tell me this. I know you're humble, but this is not the space right now for humility. Because I want people to be able to see your journey. I want people to be able to see the contrast of where you started and where you are now. So tell me, as far as like tangibly, who is Kisha now? Because I know that you, not only did you finish high school, but you also have a college degree. You have a bachelor's degree and you have a master's degree, correct?
I'm still working on the master's.
Okay.
Not done.
Okay. No, okay. For some reason, I thought you did. I thought I had seen that on social media, but long story short, doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. But my point is, this teen mom who people said at 14, I don't know how you're going to finish high school, who is this educated woman who, the degrees, they matter, but they don't matter. They matter for you individually. They don't matter to whoever else. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's not about that. It's about challenging yourself and from where you came from to where you are now. And so tell me about, what you do for work and just all those things. Like what does all of that look like? Because I want people to be able to see the real of how you really can go from, making $4 and something an hour to where you're at now.
It was a lot of hard work. So to not think, in retrospect, it seems easy. I worked my ass off. I mean, so one of my leaders was like, how do you get it all done? 60 hours. That's how. Laptop at home, taking informal opportunities, doing things people didn't want to do. When I'm a frontline rep, I would walk around and see who was pregnant. So I would ask, hey, when you're out, who's going to your team? And my pay, they were making $20,000 more than me at the time. There was no offer to give me any incentive, but the experience. I moved to Amarillo, my very first plane ride. I was 30. Nationwide said, hey, I'd applied for some manager jobs. I had my degree at the time, but no managerial experience. And they was like, hey, you want to come out to Amarillo and kind of help? I left my family I missed Kiara's 16th birthday to go be in Amarillo, Texas to get managerial experience that allowed me to take a quality manager job that got me here in San Antonio. So it was a lot of, and even then when I moved here, okay, leave your entire family. I left them. I came in March. They didn't move here until June. So again, I left them in VA with my ex-husband for 3 months and slept on an air mattress with my sister and her golden retriever. And then she had another stray dog that she had. It's sacrifice. But I knew I couldn't fail. I knew that I couldn't fail. And that's going back to the 13-year-old who's like, no, I can't run the mile. I'm pregnant. It was that level of not confidence, but there was peace that it would all work out. And it was a lot of long nights. Even now, I lead my official title is a learning and performance manager, which means I have a training team, and they are phenomenal professionals. I love what I do. I love learning. I love the science of the brain and how you can see the light bulb in someone's head go off. But some days I work 12 hours. I like to start early and work late. Not a slave to it because I love it, and the compensation is dope, but it's hard work. I had a really great rating at the end of last year, and I heard someone didn't have a similar, and I thought, all right, I work my ass off. Even 20 years in. So there's no 20 years in, 35 days. No, I am turning and burning like the newest manager on the block because I love what I do. I have a passion for people. Had a happy hour with my team today before you and I got to chat, and we were just kicking it. And they're like, what are you going to talk about? Being a teen mom. One of my girlfriends has, she runs a blog and she wants me to be on. So that investment, relationships is dope. But it's a lot of criticism. Being a leader is tough. I took over this team. They all turned their cameras off. I was like, who is this Black woman that's all woo, right? But it's the time. But it is sacrificial. There's things, again, I missed Kiara's 16th birthday because of work. Shakoria had a competition for cheerleading. I'm in Amarillo. She calls me afterwards. They don't hold that against me, and I don't hold it against myself because those things exponentially made our lives better, but that's the reality. I had to make a decision.
Yes. You're making me emotional because when I listen to you talk again, I just see how far that you have come in life. And I think about, the times in the red escort, and to where you are now. And it was definitely not without sacrifice of sleep, time, effort, being miles away, so many thousands of miles away from your family and your children. I know all of those things. I want people to see the reality of it from going from making $4.20 an hour back then, you saying $50,000. And to some people, that's not even a lot of money. But you have to think about, like, a lot of people don't make that, especially not from not back home where we're from. They don't make that. And so I know that has even multiplied since then. And so that's what I want people to see. Like, I want people to see that you probably make more there. I don't know if it's because you're in San Antonio or because of the level of your job. You can tell me that, but what's that look like? Like, what's that look like? What's it look like to not have to, like, pinch anymore, to go from that type of struggle where you ain't never got nothing left over to, now you have more than enough?
Sometimes it doesn't feel real, and I'm probably more frugal is not the right word, but I don't have to. Sometimes I check my account just because I don't check it, and people say, "No, you should check it," and not because it's a lot, but I don't need to have to move money over anymore, or nobody's calling to say, I don't have to block numbers. I don't. I remember they were going through this foreclosure and the bankruptcy, and they were calling my job to repo my car. And they would call, we had this one centralized phone, and the guy would call the one phone, and I'm like, dude, I'll give you $5. Can you just stop calling my job at this one centralized number? So yeah, that's so embarrassing, Okay, so today it feels like a long time coming, and that's probably the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 years that I feel financially secure. Although I bought this house when I moved here, and when I bought this house, I was the only person contributing financially. It feels interesting to not have a car payment. I've had a car payment as long as I had a license. Well, no, because my '87 red car was not, right, but for the 15 years. From a buy here, pay here to the repo, to another buy here, pay here, or cars that don't work. So to have I bought a brand new car, 2015. I traded in 2 cars to get one, paid way too much money for the negative equity, but I have a title. I was like, what? I got the title to my car. Dope. It has 60,000 miles on it. It's mine. Do you know? It is mine. I've never paid off. I'm 40. I just paid off my first car in my life. That is a rival for me. And Lord willing, I don't want another car payment. So whatever that looks like, Lord, be it unto me. I don't want another car payment, but I showed the kids, like, look, I own the car. Like, that is mine. No one can take this from the bank. Don't own it. I should take comp and collision off of it, but I know better because I'm in insurance, right? That was a pinnacle, having houses and things that happens, but owning that 2015 Nissan Altima in the garage. That was and thank you for pulling that out, because those things I don't take them for granted, but it's just kind of like, it's just life. But yeah, this was the first time in my entire life that I've ever bought a car and paid it off, had a title, ever. I'm 40. It's a big deal.
Yes. Well, I am, like I said, beyond proud of you. There's not enough words that I could use to put that into perspective. And I'm so glad we did this interview. And I'm so glad I did it in this way, because I want to start doing it in this way, because it's natural. There's a natural flow. There's a conversation. But, again, my aim and with SMU is to empower other people, to inspire them, and to encourage them. And so hearing other people's stories does that for me. I can't speak for everybody else, but it does that for me. And I love the art of storytelling, especially with stories that I know so well and so closely. And so I don't know if you can see it from the inside out, but from the outside looking in, I just see I see this. And not that I ever even looked at you down here, even, like that, but I just see this. I see such growth, and, I'm very proud.
You can see this too, because I shrunk. I'm just joking.
Yes,
This is a
that
waste of my
too.
life.
That too.
Let me say thank you for creating a platform, because we didn't have this. We didn't have
Mhm.
a channel. We didn't have someone. There were people, right? But it was always like child. It was always like a thing, right? So thank you for being a
Mhm.
positive light to something that doesn't has an asterisk or seems tarnished. And even in this session, you're like, girl, mommy guilt, you've done enough. So that hearing other parents, because it's easy for someone who doesn't have kids to give me feedback, and I'm like,
Told
that's
you
like
that.
me talking to someone who I can't tell my best friend who's a pharmacist, like, girl, you shouldn't dispense those pills like that. Like, I can't tell her that. She's lived it, right? So to hear another mom who has adult children say, you've done enough. And I realize that, but it's still like as strong as an addiction sometimes. I'll go out and I'm like, oh, let me call and see if they want me to bring them stuff home. And so then I'll be down here working. Like, what you doing? Oh, we got us DoorDash. That's me. They help me too, but I want you to know that you sharing with me, it blesses me because every time someone can help me to realize that no, it clips one of the strings of guilt because it's only from another mom, a young one too, because they were our babies, they were our everything. When there was no one else, we had them. When someone else who's lived it and understands that there was over. Sometimes we did too much because we felt we didn't do enough, right? We had the bigger parties because whatever. Thank you for doing this, inviting me, and for also blessing me in this moment when I was here to really share my story. It helped. I'm going to not give
Yes.
those fools nothing to eat. I'm going to go out tonight and bring back Applebee's. No, we don't. I joke, but it's real. And I think, well, that's the smallest of things, but it is so like I've gone through counseling about it. It is just so crippling sometimes. So thank you for encouraging me.
Absolutely.
No, it's enough. And because I know you get it, you're not just saying that as lip service. Like you absolutely get it. So thank you for this opportunity and for sewing back into me the nugget of releasing some of the guilt.
Absolutely. So one of the last points that I want to make before I end this interview is that no matter what circumstance made you a single mother, you're still a single mother. And this is not necessarily directed towards you. This is just directed towards, I guess, the audience, because I think it's important for people to understand that there are so many different circumstances that lead you to this place of being a single mom, whatever that looks like, whether it was a teen mom, whether it was, just the relationship didn't work out, whether
Your widow.
sometimes people have
That's the thing
a
too.
widow. Yes,
Mhm,
yes, I've interviewed
mhm.
a widow on my on my blog, whether it is just divorce.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter how you got here. It's just the point that you are a single mom. And I think sometimes people don't want to identify with it because there's such a negative connotation surrounding it, right? Because it's not glamorous. There ain't nothing glamorous about being a single mom.
Mhm.
It really
Mhm.
isn't. As far as what it looks like from the outside in. I mean, we know that it's rewarding, but it's hard. It is
Yes.
hard. It's not easy. Something easy about it. And so I just wanted to make that point because just in case people are feeling indifferent or feeling, or even looking down on us, because, I know, you also talked about some of that before we started the interview, but the negative connotation that comes with being a single mom. But just being a single mom is being a single mom, regardless of how you came about to that. And so that is what SMU is here for, to encourage, empower, and to inspire each other to be better and to do great. Because I think if you can see other people who have done it like yourself, it makes it so much more possible. And it gives you something to fight for, it gives you something to fight a little harder, because as single moms, we have to have that fight. We have to have that perseverance. We have to have that endurance, because there are so many odds that are stacked against us for various reasons. And even stereotypes, I've gotten it myself. So I
Yes.
know that
Yes.
it's real. So thank you for always supporting. Thank you for doing this interview. And as to the viewers, I hope you will continue to watch and that you will frequent my blog. It is SMU Single Mothers Unite. And I do intend to have more content coming along throughout the year. So thank you, Kisha. And I wish you all the best, happiness, love, success in every area of